Hi guys, thanks for checking out the video. Somebody put a comment on a pitching video I did a few weeks ago asking sort of what my feelings were on using the bounce of the club. So the bounce of the club is the bit that sort of protrudes out the bottom of the club. We tend to associate it with bunker play. I almost feel like it's a bit like a rudder. It allows the club to go into the sand, stops the club digging, it allows it to slide in underneath, and then that helps you with your bunker shots. Bounce, however, it has its purpose outside of the bunker. I'm a strong believer in using the bounce. The reason why is pretty much for the same reason why we use the bounce in the bunker. If you don't use the bounce and you tend to use the leaning edge a lot, if you make a contact sort of 3 inches behind the ball, you're going to have the club dig in, it's going to shut, probably not going to get any contact at all, so your performance is going to vary hugely. However, if you kind of use the bounce, so you come in a little more shallow, you'll find, I'm not saying hit 3 inches behind, that's certainly an error, but you find the club will try and glide and you'll get a contact that sometimes you can't even feel the difference. So I like using the bounce because it gives you some margin for error, and margin for error is certainly a good thing. With the margin for error, you also sometimes find that you hit slightly in behind, the club gets to the ball, you then get a contact that's not quite as nice, so it doesn't spin quite as much, but as a result it doesn't quite fly as far and then rolls out to the same place. So, and I see it a lot with the guys on telly. They hit a shot and it's such a great shot, but they look at it in sort of disgust. And it's kind of for this reason, they don't quite get the contact they're looking for, but as they're playing with quite a neutral place, coming in quite shallow, they're going to get some nice results. So certainly I'm a strong believer in trying to use the bounce. So I'm just going to hit a little pitch shot here, and you see I've got the club back. I'm going to really try and hit to this pin on the left, but going to hit in behind the ball, and that's still gone pretty high. If I try and do the same, but I'm going to be a bit steeper, so I'm going to certainly be using that leaning edge more. Yeah, doesn't work. I know I'm trying to probably prove a point there, but it certainly just doesn't have the margin for error. So that's certainly why I love bounce. There are some downsides. The question sort of talked about crispness in strike, and I would argue I quite like that soft feeling. So I'm delivering quite shallow, lots of loft, so I'm going to get quite a high flight that lands softly. So certainly if you're trying to spin the ball, your spin loft is not going to be that great because of the shallowness, so you're not going to get that much spin. But I found for slightly longer shots, so as soon as you start going into sort of 50, 60 yards, the guys on tour tend to flight the ball quite low. And if you're using an approach that's using a lot of bounce, your dynamic loft is quite high, so it becomes quite hard to hit that low one. There are ways around it. Quite simply changing clubs. So you might use a pitching wedge where everyone else is using a sand wedge. So like I say, you can make that work, but I found sometimes when I'm going a bit longer, I will try, almost feel like I'm drawing the ball a little more, getting it a little more into the ball, just to try and get that going a little lower, under the assumption, yes, it might spin a little more, plus I can control that flight. So, great question. I just really do need to try and work on both of them, and you'll find probably that some situations will really love the bounce, some situations not so much. But you really do need to practice these things to actually find which shot works better for you. Like I say, I quite like the shallow, higher one, but with the performance team that I work with, I'll see half of them like that lower spinnier one. They just play that shot better. But the only way you can find that out is if you do give it a little bit of practice. But I hope this helps. I'd love to hear your comments. What do you do? I hope to catch you soon.